What I'm about to tell you isn't a story I ever thought I'd share. It's a raw, painful chapter of my life, one that forever changed who I am. The day I found her, not just with another man, but in our bed, in our home, was the day my entire world collapsed. The woman I loved, the one I had built a future with, had systematically dismantled everything we had, piece by agonizing piece, all while looking me in the eye and smiling, telling me she loved me just hours before. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was a psychological warfare waged against my very soul. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. My name is Alex. For the better part of 5 years, Sarah was my everything. She was the sun around which my universe revolved, the quiet hum of contentment that filled every corner of my life. We met in Denver, during a blizzard, of all things. I was a software engineer, new to the city, struggling to navigate the icy roads, and she was a barista at a tiny coffee shop off South Broadway, offering me a free hot chocolate with a smile that melted the snow right off my eyelashes. We clicked instantly. Her laughter was infectious, a bright, melodic sound that could cut through any bad day. Her eyes, a striking shade of hazel, held a warmth that made me feel like I was truly seen, truly understood. Our relationship wasn't a whirlwind romance, it was a slow, deliberate bloom, like the Colorado spring after a long winter. We built our life together with intention, brick by emotional brick. We hiked the Flatirons in Boulder, spent weekends camping by Lake Granby, and discovered every hole-in-the-wall diner within a 50-mile radius of our little rental in Highlands Ranch. We talked for hours about our dreams, her dream of opening her own boutique, my dream of launching a small tech startup. We planned our future meticulously, down to the color of the kitchen cabinets in the house we'd one day buy. That house. It wasn't just a house, it was a monument to our shared future, a testament to our commitment. We found it 2 years ago, a charming, albeit slightly dated, ranch-style home in Littleton, with a sprawling backyard perfect for the golden retriever we planned to get. We poured our hearts and savings into it, painting walls late into the night, picking out furniture, arguing good-naturedly over throw pillows. Every nail hammered, every brushstroke applied, was a promise whispered into the drywall. We envisioned Christmases by the fireplace, summer barbecues with friends, the pitter-patter of tiny feet echoing through the hallways. It was our sanctuary, our safe haven, the physical embodiment of everything we were building together. Sarah's dream of opening her boutique, Hazel and Time, was finally coming to fruition. I'd invested a significant portion of my savings, not just as a partner, but as her biggest cheerleader. I believed in her talent, her vision, her drive. She'd spent months curating pieces, designing the layout, agonizing over fonts for the logo. I was there for every late-night brainstorm, every financial spreadsheet, every moment of self-doubt she had. I helped her set up the POS system, built the shelving units with my own hands, and even learned how to style a mannequin just to make her laugh. Seeing her face light up when she finally got the keys to the storefront, a small space next to a popular bakery downtown, was one of the proudest moments of my life. I felt like we were truly a team, conquering the world together, one dream at a time. Life felt perfect. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our comfortable silences. Every morning, I'd wake up a few minutes before her, brew her favorite French roast, and bring it to her side of the bed, a small ritual we'd started years ago. She'd stretch, smile sleepily at me, and we'd talk about our day over coffee before heading off to our respective battles. Evenings were spent cooking together, watching terrible reality TV, or planning our next adventure. We were intertwined, two halves of a seamless whole. Looking back, there were no flashing red lights, no dramatic foreshadowing. Just a slow, insidious erosion I was too blind, too trusting, to see. There were minor things, easily explained away, her phone always face down, a new friend from her boutique networking group she talked about a little too often, a few late nights that morphed from supplier meetings into drinks with the girls. I dismissed them all. Sarah was independent, driven. She had a new business, new contacts. It made sense. My trust in her was absolute, unshakable. It was the foundation of our entire relationship. Then, about 3 weeks ago, things started to subtly shift. She was a little more distant, a little more preoccupied. Our conversations felt shallower, punctuated by her checking her phone or drifting off mid-sentence. Her excuses for being late or busy became more frequent, more elaborate. Inventory issues, meeting with the landlord, a last-minute event for local artisans. I chalked it up to the stress of launching a new business. It was her dream, and I wanted to be supportive. I offered to help more, to take some pressure off her, but she'd always decline, saying she had it handled. "You do so much already, Alex," she'd say, kissing my cheek, "I've got this." Her kisses felt a little less lingering, her touch a little less warm. But love, in its infinite capacity for self-delusion, convinced me it was just stress, just temporary. The day it all came crashing down started like any other Tuesday. I'd left for work early, around 7 a.m., after our usual coffee ritual. We'd kissed goodbye, her lips tasting of mint and coffee, her arms briefly around my neck. "Love you," she'd whispered, and I'd echoed it, feeling that familiar warmth spread through me. I had a big presentation at work, a new software module I'd been developing for months. It went well, a huge success. My boss was impressed, and I felt a surge of accomplishment. I texted Sarah, eager to share the good news. No reply. I called an hour later. Straight to voicemail. Probably busy at the boutique, I thought. It's a good problem to have. I decided to surprise her. I finished up early, around 4 p.m., and stopped at our favorite bakery to pick up a couple of her beloved almond croissants. I pictured her face when I walked into the boutique, a warm smile, maybe a tired but happy sigh as she took a bite. The thought made me grin. The drive home to Littleton was easy, the Colorado sun still high in the sky, painting the foothills in hues of gold and amber. I pulled into our driveway, the gravel crunching under my tires, and noticed her car was there. Good. She was home early. I walked up to the front door, croissants in hand, feeling a lightness in my step. I fumbled with my keys, eager to share my good news, eager to hold her. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I called out her name, "Sarah?" "I'm home." No answer. I walked through the living room, the kitchen, the dining room. Empty. My heart started to beat a little faster, a tiny drum of unease. Maybe she's in the backyard? I thought, but the back door was closed. Then I heard it. A faint murmur, coming from our bedroom. Not her voice. A man's voice. Low, intimate. My blood ran cold. The bag of croissants slipped from my fingers, hitting the hardwood floor with a soft thud. My mind, in a desperate attempt to rationalize, conjured up ridiculous scenarios: a plumber? An electrician? But the murmurs were too soft. Too personal. Every step I took towards that bedroom door felt like wading through thick mud. My legs were heavy, my breath caught in my throat. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. It was slightly ajar. Through the narrow gap, I saw a flash of movement, a bare arm. My stomach lurched. No. No, this couldn't be happening. Not in our home. Not in our bed. I pushed the door open, slowly at first, then with a sudden, desperate shove that sent it thudding against the wall. The scene that greeted me was a snapshot of pure, unadulterated hell. There, in our bed, the sheets we had picked out together, the pillows she fluffed every morning, lay Sarah. Naked. And beside her, a man I vaguely recognized from her boutique's grand opening, a vendor she'd introduced me to as Mark, a supplier of artisanal candles. His back was to me, but Sarah's eyes, wide with shock, locked onto mine. Her face, usually so warm and inviting, was now a mask of terror and guilt. Time seemed to warp, stretching and twisting into an agonizing eternity. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. My vision tunneled, the edges blurring, focusing only on her horrified face, on the tangle of limbs, on the absolute desecration of our sacred space. I couldn't breathe. My chest constricted, a vice grip tightening around my lungs. The croissants lay scattered on the floor of the hallway, a cruel, mocking testament to the perfect day I had envisioned. Mark, startled by the sudden noise, scrambled to sit up, a pathetic attempt to cover himself with the sheet. "Alex!" Sarah gasped, her voice a reedy whisper, laced with a fear that did nothing to quell the inferno raging inside me. The betrayal was a physical blow, a punch to the gut that left me gasping. It wasn't just the sight, it was the realization, the immediate, crushing weight of all the lies, all the stolen moments, all the trust she had systematically annihilated. Every I love you, every shared dream, every future plan we had meticulously crafted together, crumbled into dust. The woman I adored, the one I had sworn to spend my life with, had betrayed me in the most intimate, soul-crushing way imaginable. My voice, when it finally came, was a guttural growl I barely recognized as my own. Get out. Both of you. Get out of my house. My hands were clenched into fists, knuckles white, trembling with a fury so potent it felt like it would tear me apart from the inside. Sarah began to cry, soft, heaving sobs, reaching for me. Alex, please, let me explain. Explain? I spat, the word laced with venom. Explain what, Sarah? Explain how you could look me in the eye, tell me you loved me, and then bring him into our bed? Into our home? The home we built together? My voice was rising now, raw and ragged. Mark, still fumbling with his clothes, looked like a deer caught in headlights. Dude, I'm so sorry, man, he stammered, his face pale. Shut up. I roared, pointing a trembling finger at him. Get out. Now. Sarah, still weeping, pulled a sheet around herself and started searching for her clothes, her movements jerky and panicked. I watched them both, a cold, hard knot forming in my stomach. The pain was unbearable, a searing agony that threatened to overwhelm me. But beneath the pain, a different emotion was starting to stir, a dark, dangerous current. It was a feeling I hadn't known I possessed, a chilling resolve that began to harden the edges of my shattered heart. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching them scramble, feeling the last vestiges of my old life crumble into irreparable ruin. My perfect world had been a mirage, and the woman I loved, a cruel illusionist. I knew, in that gut-wrenching moment, that I couldn't just walk away and pretend this never happened. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too grievous. It had scorched my very soul, and the ashes of my former self were already beginning to coalesce into something new, something much darker. The door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing through the hollow shell of what was once our home. Sarah's choked sobs and Mark's pathetic apologies faded down the driveway, swallowed by the late afternoon air. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, the lingering scent of cheap perfume and stale sex clinging to the sheets, a suffocating shroud over everything we had built. The scattered almond croissants in the hallway, a symbol of my naive hope, mocked me from the floor. My body felt like it was made of lead, my mind a storm of white noise. But beneath the roar, a single, clear thought began to crystallize: this isn't over. The pain was a physical entity, a venomous serpent coiling in my gut, but it was no longer consuming me. Instead, it was fueling something else, a cold, calculated fury that sharpened my senses and cleared my vision. The man who had walked in with croissants was gone. In his place stood an empty vessel, ready to be filled with purpose. And that purpose was simple: destroy her. Utterly. Completely. The first call was to a locksmith. I watched, emotionless, as he changed every lock in the house. Then, I called a friend, one of my few trusted confidants from my early days in tech. He was a lawyer, specializing in corporate disputes, but I knew he was sharp, ruthless, and most importantly, discreet. Alex? What's up, man? You sound different. His voice was laced with concern. It's over, Ben, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Sarah and I found her with someone else in our bed. A pause. Then, a low whistle. Damn, Alex. I'm so sorry. What do you need? Everything, I replied, the word a whisper. I need to know how to cut her out. Financially, legally, completely. I invested heavily in her boutique. I want it back. I want the house. I want her to feel every ounce of what she did to me. Ben listened, asking pointed questions, his legal mind already working. I laid out every detail: the amount of my investment in Hazel and time, my hands-on involvement in setting up her POS system, building her shelving, even helping with inventory management. I described our shared bank accounts, the joint mortgage, the future plans we'd meticulously crafted. He told me to gather every document, every email, every text message related to our finances and the business. "This isn't just a divorce, Alex," Ben said, his tone grave. "This is going to be a war. Are you ready for that?" "Ready," I affirmed, the word feeling like a vow. My voice didn't tremble. My hand didn't shake. The transformation had begun. The next few weeks were a blur of legal jargon, financial audits, and sleepless nights spent poring over spreadsheets. I moved into a corporate apartment I'd been keeping for work-related stays, leaving the house a sterile, empty monument to a love that never truly existed. Sarah tried to call, to text, to explain, but I blocked her number. There was nothing to explain. The image of her wide, guilty eyes, of Mark scrambling to cover himself, was seared into my mind, a permanent brand of betrayal. Ben, true to his word, was a legal shark. He filed for divorce, citing infidelity, and immediately sought an injunction to freeze all shared assets. My investment in Hazel and Time was tricky. It wasn't a formal loan with interest, but a significant capital injection as a partner in her dream. Ben argued that my contribution was not merely financial, but also intellectual and physical, from setting up her entire tech infrastructure to the manual labor. He began building a case that Sarah had not only breached our marital trust but also her fiduciary duty as a business partner. Sarah, of course, lawyered up. Her attorney tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-husband, trying to destroy a woman's budding career out of spite. They attempted to argue that my investment was a gift, a gesture of love, and therefore not reclaimable. But I had documentation. Every bank transfer, every receipt for materials I'd bought for the boutique, every email where I outlined business strategies, even photos of me building the shelves. My meticulous nature, once a point of playful contention between us, now became my most potent weapon. While the lawyers battled, I initiated Phase 2, the slow, insidious dismantling of Hazel and Time from the inside out. My software engineering background gave me an edge. I had designed her POS system, her inventory management software, even her e-commerce backend. I knew its vulnerabilities. I had installed a specific, custom-built module to track supplier reliability and customer feedback, a module I had designed to be accessible only by me, even after she took over full operational control. One night, sitting in the sterile quiet of my corporate apartment, I logged into the system. It was like walking back into a house I'd once loved, but now only felt contempt for. I could see everything: her daily sales figures, her most popular products, her customer database. More importantly, I could see her supplier list. Mark's candle company, Ember and Ash, was prominently featured, supplying almost 40% of her artisan stock. A faint, grim smile touched my lips. I started small. I anonymously posted a few negative, but factually accurate, reviews about Hazel and Time on local business forums and Yelp. Not about the infidelity directly, but about inconsistent quality, poor customer service, unethical business practices. Just enough to plant seeds of doubt. I leveraged my network, reaching out to former colleagues and contacts in the Denver tech scene. I casually mentioned that I was looking for new opportunities, hinting that my previous investment in a local boutique had gone sour due to mismanagement and ethical breaches. The tech community in Denver is tight-knit, word travels fast. Suddenly, local blogs and social media pages started picking up on the murmurs. Then came the financial strike. Ben filed a motion to place Hazel and Time into receivership, arguing that Sarah's documented financial mismanagement, which I had helped him uncover through her own system data, and her imminent divorce proceedings, coupled with her infidelity, put my substantial investment at risk. The court granted an interim receiver, a professional tasked with overseeing the business's finances. This move effectively handcuffed Sarah. Every decision, every purchase, every payment had to go through the receiver. Her dream, Hazel and Time, was no longer hers. It was a legal entity, under forensic scrutiny. The impact was immediate and devastating. Suppliers, wary of a business in legal limbo, started demanding upfront payments or refusing to deliver. Mark, of course, was one of them. I had already ensured that a discreet, anonymous tip about his involvement with a client, Sarah, during the client's marriage had reached his other, larger clients. His reputation, too, was beginning to unravel. I received a call from Sarah's lawyer a week after the receiver took over. They were willing to settle. Sarah was offering to give me the house, sign over her equity, and pay me back a portion of my investment in Hazel and Time. It was a desperate attempt to salvage her business. Tell her no, I told Ben, my voice unwavering. Tell her I want every penny of my investment back, with interest. And I want the house. And I want her to lose the boutique. Ben was quiet for a moment. Alex, we could settle this now. It's a good offer. It's not good enough, I cut him off. She didn't just take my money or my house. She took my future. She took who I was. And I want her to understand the cost of that. The war escalated. Sarah, cornered, lashed out. She gave an interview to a local lifestyle blog, painting herself as a victim of a vengeful ex, a woman trying to make her dreams come true against all odds. She cried, talking about how I was trying to ruin her. This was my opening for Phase 3, the public execution. I contacted the same blog, offering them the other side of the story. I provided them with a timeline of events, supported by screenshots of her evasive texts, details of my financial contributions, and, crucially, an anonymous tip from an employee, a former intern of hers I still had a good relationship with, who had seen Mark at the boutique multiple times when Sarah said she was working alone, about the true nature of her supplier meetings. I didn't explicitly mention the affair, but the implication was undeniable. My lawyer approved the move, framing it as a defense of my reputation against her defamatory claims. The blog post went viral in the Denver community. The comments section exploded. People who had once admired Sarah and Hazel in Time turned on her. The carefully curated image of the hardworking, independent businesswoman crumbled. Customers began returning items, demanding refunds. Online sales plummeted. Foot traffic to the boutique became a trickle. Sarah tried to fight back, but every attempt only dug her deeper. Her business, once her pride and joy, became a public spectacle, a symbol of betrayal and deceit. Then came the final blow. The receiver's report confirmed what I already knew: Sarah had been diverting funds, using portions of my investment for personal expenses unrelated to the business. It wasn't outright fraud, but it was enough for Ben to successfully argue that she had breached her contractual obligations as a business partner. The court ruled in my favor. I was awarded the house, full ownership, and a judgment against her for the entirety of my investment, plus legal fees. Hazel in Time, unable to operate under the weight of debt and public contempt, was forced into liquidation. I drove past the boutique a few weeks later. The windows were papered over with 4 lease signs. The cheerful Hazel in Time sign was gone, replaced by a drab, generic commercial property banner. The shelves I had built, the POS system I had configured, the dream I had invested in, all gone. Empty. Just like the house now. Just like the space where my heart used to be. I never saw Sarah again. I heard through the grapevine that she left Denver, unable to face the whispers and the ruined reputation. Mark's candle business also suffered, his main clients having severed ties after the scandal. Justice, in its own cold, mechanical way, had been served. The revenge was complete. I had achieved every objective. Sarah was destroyed, her dreams shattered, her reputation in tatters. I had reclaimed what was mine, and then some. I stood in the silence of the house, the one we had built, the one she had desecrated. It was clean now, scrubbed free of her presence, devoid of any lingering scent of her or him. Yet, it felt colder, larger, emptier than it ever had. The man who walked through the door that day with almond croissants was long dead. He had been ripped apart, limb by agonizing limb, by a betrayal so profound it left only a husk. The man who stood now, gazing out at the Colorado sunset painting the foothills in hues of orange and purple, was different. He was harder, sharper, calculating. He knew the depths of human cruelty, and he knew the power of his own resolve. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by an unbreakable shell. But the relentless pursuit of vengeance hadn't brought peace. It had brought a grim satisfaction, a sense of balance restored, but not happiness. The silence in the house was no longer the comfortable quiet of shared love, but the stark, echoing silence of a tomb. I had won the war, but the battlefield was my own soul. I had survived, remade myself into a weapon, and deployed it with precision. And as I looked out at the fading light, I realized that the man I had become was not one who easily trusted, nor one who easily loved. The cost of her betrayal wasn't just my past, it was a piece of my future, too. I was free, yes, but forever scarred. And in that chilling realization, I found my new truth. The end.